It's actually insane that the place that you spend the least amount of time at is the place that costs you the most money.
The interest rates just kept going up and you couldn't refinance and you've just been house poor for 3 years. Can't afford vacations, can't afford the simple luxuries of life. How are your ramen noodles for dinner tonight? Literally, that's what we ate for dinner.
All across the country, people thought they were buying their dream home. Now they're trapped in mortgage payments that they can't escape. If you're not careful, you could be next. What happens when your dream home turns into a mortgage nightmare? Let's find out.
Now that I'm house poor, I've got to make my mortgage payment, so let's do that together. The amount of the mortgage on this house is $362,549.54. We bought this house in April 2025 and our mortgage balance then was $364,500. So we've made a little progress. But like I said, we are definitely in the house poor category and our monthly payment is $2,919.17. Whew, that's a lot. Of that, almost $3,000, only $347.97 goes toward principal. Then for interest, we are paying $1,926.04. And our escrow is $645.16. So that's a lot that's going toward interest when we make this payment this month. But because I don't want to be paying this huge amount for 30 years, I am paying a little bit extra toward reducing the mortgage balance every single month. So I rounded up my mortgage payment to $3,000, which means I put an extra $80.83 directly toward principal. And I paid a full payment of $3,000 toward the mortgage. This means our new balance after that $347 and that $80 together reduced it is $362,120.74. Not much of a difference, but we are trying to throw whatever we can toward the mortgage balance when we can because it makes the biggest difference in the beginning because it reduces the balance and you pay less interest overall. So that's where we're at with the balance on the loan of the house that we bought this year in 2025. I will see you next month as we make another mortgage payment and make a little bit more progress. See you then.
Being house poor means that after paying your mortgage, there's barely any money left over for everyday life. It's never a good position to be in, and I don't recommend it. I've said it before, and I'll say it again. Your mortgage should be something that you can comfortably afford. There's no reason to take on any extra stress just to say you bought a home. On the positive side, I do like that she's paying a little extra towards her mortgage because every bit helps over time. But I want to hear from you. Do you think it was a mistake for them to buy this home? A lot of you might be thinking that buying this house was a mistake, but how does she feel about it? Let's hear from her.
I had a question about whether or not we regret buying our house that we bought in 2025 with the crazy prices, the crazy interest rates, and with our house, all of the insurance problems and the roof and all of that. The answer is a little complicated because it really depends on the day and my mood. So sometimes, yeah, I felt like I regretted the choice. And then other times I'm like, no, this was the best decision ever. I love where we live. It is so quiet and we have neighbors that we love. We literally moved onto a street with friends that we already had, which is so rare and you don't get to do that very often. And that has been fun for me and also for my kids. It was 1000% a lifestyle choice and it's a lifestyle that I'm willing to pay for because I love it so much. And it's so different than our old house that was much more in a commercial area and not super safe for little kids. So complete 180 in the type of life that we're able to live because of where we moved. And while that does have a higher price tag, I am willing to pay it for this point in time in our life because that's really important to us. So it's expensive and it doubled our mortgage payment from what we were paying and we're house poor right now and that part sucks. So some days I regret it because I would love to also go on a vacation and I'm not able to do that at this exact moment. So on those days when I'm like, oh, I just want to go to the beach. Yes, totally regret it. But on the days where I go to my neighbor's house with my kids and we all go swimming and we have an amazing time and then we walk home, I don't regret it at all. I love my house. I love where I live and it was totally worth it.
Now, I respect her transparency about how she feels about the decision that she made. However, it's important to understand the mortgage isn't your only expense. You also need to set aside money to fix things when they break because they will. And here's another big choice. Do you want a home that needs work or one with fewer issues from the start? You need to think about these things. Stories like this are a reminder to really know what you can afford. To make it easier, I created a free home affordability calculator. It gives you an estimate of what price range fits your budget, and there's even a short video that walks you through it. You can try it now using the link in the pinned comment. So I understand wanting to be near friends and making lifestyle choices, but is it worth the stress that is causing? Could there have been a better option? Let me know what you think about this situation. If you thought that mortgage was bad, wait until you see the next one.
Husband and I have a $3,400 mortgage payment every month. They're only $25. So I'm going to give a little bit of insight as to how we afford this every month. In my comment section saying we're living way above our means, which honestly, yes, $3,400 is not anything easy payment to make every single month. But for some context, we both work a normal 8 to 5 corporate job. Those are only 2 out of our 4 income streams. We also own and manage a cleaning company. We have employees that go clean houses for us during the week, and then we make money off the top of the clean. I do social media on the side. That definitely provides a little bit of extra income every single month. And then we also do things like dog sitting or house sitting on the side whenever we get asked to. And then we also go clean houses ourselves on the weekends. Like tomorrow after church, we're going to go clean a house and make an extra $300. We were looking for houses. We knew we wanted to buy in an area that was going to resell really, really well. We bought in a really popular neighborhood about half a mile outside of downtown Greenville. Also bought a house that needed some interior work. Bought it for $400,000. Already renovated the kitchen. We're in the process of renovating one of the bathrooms. And we get ready to sell it. We are already going to be able to sell it for close to $600,000. And when that time comes, we'll have an extra $150,000 to put down on our next house. Hopefully be able to get a lower interest rate. We knew that this house was going to be a good investment because it needed work, and we were willing to do the work ourselves and also willing to sacrifice by working on weekends and doing extra things to make more money to afford our mortgage payment the way it is right now.
I respect that they're willing to work hard to cover their $3,400 mortgage, but the question is, how sustainable is that in the long term? And I'll give them credit for researching the area and buying a house they can add value to through renovations. That can help them sell for a profit later. And I'm hoping they'll be okay and use that profit to put a big down payment on their next home. That way, the next mortgage payment won't be so high. But I do not recommend this strategy for the majority of people because it's risky. And if something goes wrong or one of their side hustles slows down, they could find themselves in a very tough position. Would you buy a home that needs renovation, or do you prefer a house that's just ready to move in? Let me know what you think.
I'll literally tell you what we spend on a monthly basis as a 25-year-old married couple living in Greenville, South Carolina. First and foremost, this is the worst one every single month. Our mortgage is $3,400. Our power bill is typically around $160. Water bill is around $85 a month. We usually spend around $600 on groceries, $350 on eating out, $250 on gas for our car. Car insurance is $314, Wi-Fi is $60, we pay $38 for pet insurance, $60 for life insurance, and $14 for our gas bill in our house. Month of June so far, we have spent $817 on like miscellaneous things. That includes Amazon, Target, Nuuly, like all the things that are not necessities. We also put a percentage of our paychecks into a savings brokerage account. Both contribute to a 401k. My husband contributes to a Roth IRA, and then we also tithe to our church. So all of our absolute necessary bills add up to monthly cost of $5,331. So I would love to know what y'all think, if that's high or lower than you expected. I feel like cost of living here is pretty average. It's not high, but it's also not super, super low.
So in her caption, she mentioned that the mortgage is painfully high and they're hoping to refinance as soon as possible. One trick realtors and loan officers use is convincing buyers that they can always refinance later, as if there's some magic wand. And I really do not like that. You should run away from anyone who leads with that, because we don't know what's going to happen. You should never buy a house you can't afford today and assume you'll refinance into a very low interest rate in the future. Looking at their budget besides their mortgage, I don't really see anything too crazy. Maybe they can cut back on eating out. Obviously, food is typically cheaper when you cook at home, and I would think eating out is probably not that expensive in Greenville, South Carolina. But do you think they're spending too much month to month when you think about the budget she just shared? So we've seen high mortgages already, but nothing like this. But first, I need you to hit that like and subscribe button. If you want to get better at real estate investing, you gotta follow this channel.
Let's go rapid fire through my monthly recurring expenses. Mortgage payment, $4,431.49. HELOC payment, $628.12. Loan from my retirement to help pay for my house, $191.63. Student loans, $114.61. Soccer for 3 of my children, $900 a month. Utilities, starting with internet, $107. Auto insurance, $143.53. Electric bill, $199.10. Gas bill, $104.06. Garbage service, $120.20. Water bill, $190.63. Phone service for multiple people, around $100. Miscellaneous, starting with Amazon Kids, $5.99. Disney Plus, $21.99. Microsoft PC, $11.99. Netflix, $24.99. CVS Extra Care Card, $5. Greenlight cards, $5.99. And something I'm pretty sure is a scam, but I haven't had the time to look into it. Homeowners Insurance of Boston, $19.23. The grand total, not including food, gas costs, or any sort of clothing or miscellaneous purchases for daily living is $6,425.55.
A $4,431 mortgage is already super high. And on top of that, she also has a home equity line of credit. So in total, she's paying over $5,000 per month towards the house. The most concerning part about this is that it doesn't include food, gas, or everyday expenses. For a family of 5, my assumption would be those could easily add another $1,000 or more every month. The soccer cost seems high to me, and given how tight their budget is, the YMCA might be a more affordable option for sports. They have tons of programs for next to nothing. In another video, she mentions that she feels like she has no breathing room, even though her take-home pay is almost $100,000 so far this year. That's a very tough spot to be in. But do you think any of her bills are too high, or is it just the mortgage that's the real problem? Now, with a mortgage this high, you'd expect a lot from the house. So let's see what this price tag actually gets you.
Oh, you're nosy. I like it. Okay, let me show you my completely average looking house that I paid like almost $1 million for. Just a fair warning, it's messy. I've been working long hours, multiple nights in a row, and my husband's been starting to work part-time as well. So is she messy? Don't judge. I'm just a normal person, okay? Thank you. Here is my bedroom. It's got some blackout curtains so you can probably barely see anything. Here is my office where I'm doing my TT. This is my get ready station where I do my hair and makeup like I am a teenager and not a 40-year-old. Here is my one bathroom that I share with 5 people, including 2 teenage daughters. Well, my husband just reminded me that one of my daughters is actually a tween, not a teen. Incredibly messy kitchen. Here's the living room and the dining room. Here are my industrial strength fans. I use these instead of air conditioner. That's why my house is 78 degrees. Just for privacy reasons, I'm not gonna show you my kids' bedroom because that's their business. But I'll show you my favorite spot, and that's outside. Here is my back patio where I do most of my filming. And there are our only pets. They're chickens. They give us some food. And that is what $815,000 will get you. Also note, this is a tiny backyard. There is no pool. So the very expensive water bill, I'm not filling up any Olympic-sized swimming pools.
I really appreciate her transparency, but for $815,000, I was expecting at least a second bathroom. Still, if it works for the family, that's all that matters. I don't have children, but I get why she wanted the best for her kids' education and surroundings. My concern is whether this lifestyle is sustainable long-term. Every city is obviously different, and on the West Coast specifically, you usually have to lower your expectations for what an expensive home will actually give you. But I do like the back patio. It looks private and a nice, relaxing space. And shout out to them for having chickens. With how expensive eggs are these days, that's definitely a nice bonus. Ultimately, I wish her the best and hope her husband's income can take some of the pressure off. Did you expect the house to look different since it cost over $800,000? I would love to hear your feedback.
The interest rates just kept going up and you couldn't refinance and you've just been house poor for 3 years. Can't afford vacations, can't afford the simple luxuries of life. How are your ramen noodles for dinner tonight? Literally, that's what we ate for dinner. I mean, I added some like ground turkey in there, but damn, like we are at our breaking point with being house poor. But the thing is, we could not sell our house even if we wanted to for a variety of reasons. But mainly, houses in our neighborhood are not selling. Yeah, there have been houses on the market for almost a year in our neighborhood. So I'm gonna need Jerome Powell to get canned or something soon because what's up with these interest rates? Please, can we catch a break here?
Too many people drank the Kool-Aid and bought way too much house. In some areas, they can't even sell now because the housing market in the local area has slowed down. It's one thing if your mortgage keeps you from going on vacation. That's not a necessity, that's optional. But if your mortgage keeps you from affording good quality food, that's a huge problem, and it's an avoidable problem. She also mentioned Jerome Powell, the head of the Federal Reserve. And here's a common misconception. The Federal Reserve does not directly set mortgage rates. Just because the Fed lowers the federal funds rate does not mean mortgage interest rates automatically go down. That's not how it works. We've seen the impact of overpaying for a home, but what about people who rushed into buying and now regret it?
And everybody doesn't want to be a homeowner, and everybody won't be a homeowner. Let's talk about it. They said 68% of adults go and buy a home because they were encouraged to, not because they understood why or why not to. Of that 68% of adults who go and rush and buy a home just because that's what society tells us to do, 32% regret buying that home within the first 5 years of living in that home. See, because I fear that that idea has a lot more to do with the idea of playing home than it does on the actual value of owning your own home. I'm sorry, owning your own loan. Which is why we have a lot of young adults unmarried, playing house, but in an apartment. Okay, that wasn't part of my script, but stop making people feel bad for not rushing into buying a home because they haven't decided where they want to settle down, and they're not even sure that they want to wake up one day and realize that they are house poor because of the reality of what it means to quote unquote own your own home in 2025. Don't catch up, catch on. And that's how you'll have a better financial life in the future.
Many people regret buying a home because they weren't fully educated before starting the process. They stretch to the very top of their budget, they don't hire a good realtor, and they skip doing their due diligence. Some realtors and loan officers say it's always a good time to buy a home, but I disagree with that completely. The best time to buy a home is when it's right for you, when you have a fully funded emergency fund, a solid budget that won't be crushed by a mortgage, and plans to stay in the house for at least 5 years. Do you think people are made to feel guilty about not owning a home? I would love to hear your thoughts. So it's not just homeowners who are feeling the pressure. Renters can relate to this too. Let's check out the final clip.
It's actually insane that the place that you spend the least amount of time at is the place that costs you the most money. Let's talk about it. Not that I didn't think about this plenty of times before, but how is it that we spend all of our time at work trying to get the money to pay the rent? We can't even be at home. Because even once you pay the rent this month, you got to repeat the cycle all over again. You ain't never at home, yet rent costs an arm and a leg. You always at work, and somehow you still can't afford to live. Almost all the money that you spend goes to rent and mortgages. At this point, we just need to go on a 90-day run of just work, no sleep. How much are you paying for rent or mortgage, and for how many bedrooms right now in 2025? Just how bad has the economy got with this renting apartments and renting townhomes and buying homes? Just how ridiculous has it gotten? And what state do you live in? I need to know.
This is so true. And honestly, why I love being at home, because I want to make sure I get my money's worth for what I'm paying. Housing usually takes up the biggest portion of people's expenses, and that's honestly just the way it is. The general guideline is that housing should not take up more than 30% of your take-home pay. And I understand in many cities that's really hard to do. Of course, it also depends on other debts and bills you might have, so that percentage can vary. The main point is you want to have enough money left over to live comfortably. And I think that's a fair thing to ask people for. So we've seen a lot of rough situations today. Families paying way too much for their mortgages, feeling house poor, and even regretting their decision to buy. But here's the takeaway. Buying a home does not have to destroy your finances. If you actually take the time to understand your budget, build up an emergency fund, and only buy when it truly makes sense for you, owning a home can still be a powerful step towards building wealth. And I want you to remember, it's not about rushing into the market. It's about making a decision that sets you up to live comfortably. So learn from these stories so that you don't repeat them, and you'll put yourself in a much stronger position when it's your turn to buy. If you need support, download my free home affordability calculator using the link in the pinned comment. And if you're planning to buy or sell a home in the next year, I'm a licensed realtor and can connect you with a trusted professional in your area. Just go to the pinned comment to schedule a free call with me to talk some more about your needs. Now that you know about the dangers of high mortgage payments, I want you to learn about why some homeowners are being forced to sell their homes. Check out this video right here.